Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Bleav in Arizona Cardinals podcast. We're here talking everything Arizona Cardinals with the AZ sports fans. Michael Potenciano, I believe, is how you pronounce your last name. AZ, aka Mike, is what we'll go by the rest of the time, since it's a little easier to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you for having me on, man. Thank you so very much. Yeah, actually pretty good. I mean, a lot of people butcher the last name, so you actually did pretty solid. Potenciano, but yeah, really good, man.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah, no. So the Arizona Cardinals, we're here to talk about everything Arizona sports. This podcast is everything Arizona Cardinals related with training camp getting going. There's a lot of news. It's starting to trickle out. Although it definitely was a disappointment with the 2025 season. Cardinals fire Jonathan Gannon. They move on from the longtime quarterback in Kyler Murray. And it feels like this is a team, in some cases, that knows exactly who they are, that they're not going to compete probably in the division this year. Maybe there's a chance that outside they could surprise people. But it really feels like this is kind of a reset year with bringing in a brand new head coach, and it's kind of been controversial. Some people have been excited at least for the season because it's Cardinals football. Others have kind of been dreading this season. What kind of camp do you fall in, or are you kind of split down the middle that way?
I feel like I would have been a little bit more, this is a terrible season if we didn't get Carson Beck. I feel like there's a lot of, I guess, things to watch. Especially in the quarterback front. I mean, let's be real. I mean, when you're watching football or sports, that's what you really follow, the quarterback and who you got. Now, although we don't know what we have in Carson Beck, it at least brings a little intrigue for Cardinals fans. So I love the Mike LaFleur hiring. I know we might be talking about that a little later on, but I love the Mike LaFleur hiring. I want to see what he does with his weapons. So I'm kind of on team. I think this offense can be good. It's just I don't know what this defense is going to look like right now. I'm still I want to see what they can do.
Yeah, I think with the Cardinals moving on from Jonathan Gannon, it felt like that some people thought he would get another shot, but it felt like you were going to be coming into a rough year regardless. It felt like he was going to be on his way out. I like that they went out and were able to at least go and hire someone who was able to have an offensive background, was trained up in the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan type of systems. We've seen a lot of success in guys coming from that tree, but it still was a really tough coaching search. Like the Cardinals obviously did not get the big names as Jim Harbaugh. They did not get some of the other guys who were a lot of coaches were ultimately fired. They went after Clint Kubiak hard, did not end up getting Clint Kubiak. He went to the Raiders. I do think that win against the Cowboys, if the Cardinals had gotten the number one pick in Fernando Mendoza, maybe you see a little switcheroo around with all of that. But they did also keep Monti Ossenfort, which has been a lot of controversy, at least to people who thought the Cardinals should have just cleaned house entirely. Do you think that Mike LaFleur, we talked a little bit about him, what do you think about his hire? And then what do you think about Monty staying here?
Yeah, well, let's start off with Mike LaFleur. I like the hiring. I really do. When here's the thing, like especially when you're at the end part of the season of 2025, I kind of was already talking about new coaches that we could potentially like replace them. It's just kind of the way I do things. So I had an inkling that it might happen, but we all heard the same reports that he might stay, he might go. Like it was just kind of a back and forth thing, and it was a wait and see type of thing. But the Mike LaFleur hiring, I thought it was great. Honestly, he was one of my top candidates, even dating back into November. Because I was talking about it that early about potentially getting a new head coach. Him, Shula, anybody that was going to be within that Sean McVay tree, because you just saw a lot of success from those guys that were, in that tree, or Kyle Shanahan, but mainly more McVay than Shanahan. So I was excited about it. I'm hoping that we can get some sort of replication of what we've seen from KOC, Kevin O'Connell, or maybe even Liam Cohen. I get it's a full soap, but of course, as a Cardinals fan, and we're all 0-0. We're in the beginning of the stages, so we're all going to have a little hope. But I do love the hiring. And then for Monti Ossenfort, I'm in the same camp that I felt like it was just easier to just rip it all off like a Band-Aid. I guess, like, I was hoping that with him staying, it would give him a little bit more fire to be like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. But it definitely felt like Monti Ossenfort was just continuously doing what he did in the last 3 years. It was very conservative, not really, addressing a lot of big key things that I was hoping he was going to. Like, from the start of this whole Monti Ossenfort regime. Like, I love Josh Sweat, and I think it was a great acquisition, but I feel like that was the biggest swing we took at the edge rushing position, because now we're heading into year 4, and it's just a lot of confusion. So obviously we have to give one more year to Monti Ossenfort. Let's see what he can do, and it might be contingent on what Mike LaFleur can do here, but I don't know. I felt like it was just best to just start fresh and see what we can do, because if we have another bad season, who really is going to, have faith that he's going to be able to pick the next quarterback of the future? I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of it may depend on how the draft picks that Monti Ossenfort has selected more than just the free agent signings. Because if you end up looking back at this next upcoming year, maybe you don't win a lot of games, but if you go, hey, Marvin Harrison Jr. broke out, Darius Robinson had a solid season, he'll be able to be here for 2 more years and then probably walk. You talk about Walter Nolan and Will Johnson having some breakout seasons. Suddenly, you start to have a different opinion of Monti Ossenfort, where he's a guy who was saddled by bad luck and maybe needed to get an offensive coach into the building versus what they had limitations with Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing. It could also, like you said, go the other way, where it might be that Michael Bidwell is entering the season going, hey, I don't have the ability without a quarterback to bring in a top-tier general manager candidate at least. We had so much going in and out, at least, of new coaches, different staff, some guys staying, some guys going. It's just a lot to have all that chaos that Michael would have to then take on himself to have to hire a brand new GM, to then hire a brand new head coach. I do wonder if it is one of those cases where the Cardinals are entering into this season, they're not anticipating having a huge breakout season from a lot of different guys, so you're probably going to be retooling with a new quarterback entering into next year. We'll talk a little bit at the end about the quarterback class and how that all looks, because a lot of Cardinals fans are already looking ahead to 2027. But just kind of feel like if Jonathan Gannon was the scapegoat for last year, you've got 2 in-house scapegoats that are ready to roll, and Nick Rallis and Monti Ossenfort. And if they do end up performing where they go ahead of, then you're going to credit Michael Bidwell for having the patience that a lot of times owners wouldn't have had. And if they are in a space at least to go out there and get that quarterback, that does feel like it is going to be one of those things that Cardinals fans are really going to have not had since, I think, that type of hope that Kyler Murray brought. Now, granted, we can talk a little bit about one of the quarterbacks with the offseason addition to the team, but let's go and talk about the quarterbacks who are not on this roster. Cardinals go out in the offseason. Seem like they're heavily linked to Malik Willis, the top free agent quarterback available outside of maybe a Kirk Cousins, who I think a lot of people would have just accepted would not have been able to get this team necessarily over the hump. You talk about Jimmy G, was one of the guys they'd been tied to, and he seemed like he had contemplated retirement. Now he says he's open to the right situation. I can bet you that right situation is not the Arizona Cardinals. That's what it seems like. And then, of course, there's obviously some contract stuff with the current quarterbacks that we'll get into. But what did you think, at least, about the quarterback offseason drama? Did the Cardinals make the right choice by kind of staying the course with keeping guys on their roster? Or should they have really just said, we need to go out and start winning games? We're going to go and be aggressive to get one of these other quarterbacks into the fold versus sticking with Jacoby Brissett?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, because it's just, there's a lot to unfold there. Because I mean, with the rumors that you heard about Malik, you would say that, yeah, I mean, they were at least trying to do something, right? But like, you were essentially outbid from a team in Miami Dolphins that I don't know what their direction is with getting rid of Waddle, and it just makes no sense on what they're doing over there. But like, especially coming off of paying a quarterback $20+ million. So like, I think hearing to the rumors, you would say that they would at least try to do that. But I almost kind of feel like the Cardinals, they had like their mindset, but there was no like plan A, plan B, plan C. It almost comes like, this is what, and it didn't work, we're just going to completely pivot. Because I remember my reaction when we ended up bringing in Minshew, which obviously now it's simmered down and slowed down, but I was like, what are we doing? Like, what is going on? Now, obviously, with the current state of what's happening with Jacoby Brissett, is he going to stay? Is he going to get his pay? It doesn't seem like that big of a deal to have another veteran on here, just obviously depending on what happens with Brissett, especially if he does decide to, or the Cardinals decide to do whatever with him. I do like the Beck bringing in here in the 3rd round. I know that was a big controversy from some Cardinals fans. I saw a few different reactions out there with people saying, oh, this is not good, or he's a terrible pick for the Cardinals. To me, I look at a quarterback that's got the height. I mean, he doesn't got the biggest arm, but he's got a pretty good arm, and he wins in college, and let's just hope he can translate, right? We actually got a offensive-minded head coach, so let's see if that can hopefully develop. But do I wish the Cardinals did a little bit more? I do, but I mean, under the circumstances that we currently are in, I don't know. It's tough, because would I be happy if the Cardinals were to go after Aaron Rodgers? Of course. Like, Jimmy G would have been okay, I guess better than what we have right now, but I don't know. Like, right now, my main focus is on Beck, the development of Beck. Like, what do we have in him? And if it doesn't work, then 2027 is where my mind is in for the quarterback state. So like, it's such a tough question because I know that the rumors are saying that we're going to go after Willis, and then we didn't. So I don't know. It's tough to answer that one.
Yeah, the Cardinals didn't make a whole lot of additions to their team. I think part of it seemed like when they didn't have, like you said, their plan A or their plan B,
Yeah.
it felt like they just were like, hey, we got Jimmy G money that was set aside for him. He's connected to Mike LaFleur. He didn't want to come to the Cardinals, so you're just going to pivot, give that money to Gardner Minshew,
Right.
put up a picture of Jacoby Brissett in the locker room after the Cowboys game and say, hey, this is going to be our starter. Suddenly, things took a drastic turn because Jacoby Brissett went, well, I didn't know that I was going to be the starter. If that's the case, let's take a look at what Geno Smith is getting paid, what Aaron Rodgers is getting paid. Kirk Cousins, at least, was already getting paid quite a bit of money, and he just was moved to a different team after being outright released by the Falcons. These guys are making between $10 to $20 million a year, closer to $20 million a year.
Right.
Clearly, I am underpaid at this point if I'm going to be your starter. Cardinals at that point probably could have done a good job of being able to bring in Gardner Minshew and then declare immediately an open quarterback competition, but you probably would have, even then, if you had done that regard, probably would not have been able to hold up in the locker room because of what Jacoby Brissett did with the statistics that he put up last year. Granted, a lot of throwing the ball. He threw the ball 40 times a game, so you're going to have a lot of yards and touchdowns. Cardinals couldn't run the ball. He was a good soldier, was able to go out there and deliver at least the ball to the starting receivers and tight end in a way that, Kyler Murray had struggled earlier that year.
Right.
I think that was where, at the end of the day, this contract drama was always going to happen. It just is a bummer that you're talking about other teams making moves, like the Niners are finally healthy. The Seahawks at least win a Super Bowl. The Rams are trading for Miles Garrett. Cardinals, hey, do we really want to pay Jacoby Brissett like a $15 million a year? We'd rather pay him $12 million a year. Let's fight over this for the next couple of months in a prolonged contract battle. I think it was always inevitable. I think that Jacoby Brissett being his own agent has been part of why it's been a lot slower, because your agent is able to just negotiate stuff for you, have stuff in play, be able to manage a lot of that for you. So I think that's a combination. But what do you think about the Jacoby Brissett drama? Because I know some Cardinals fans have said, release him, start Carson Beck, have Gardner as the backup, just get a fresh new start. Others have looked into it and said, hey, we don't want to throw Carson Beck to the Wolves. That first opening schedule is brutal for the Arizona Cardinals. I've seen that both arguments, I think, could be valid. I lean toward the Jacoby side, but what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I heard it all as well. I heard him shoot him off to the moon too. I heard all sorts of things when it comes to Jacoby Brissett. Honestly, I'm on the side of keeping him for this year because I don't think it was ever about adding more years or an extension to his current contract. It's just he wanted to get paid what he felt like was right. And if you look at all the third parties over the cap or spot track, that he's clearly underpaid for a starting quarterback, right? So and the whole Buda Baker thing that came out with him saying he's asking for the bare minimum, it kind of leads me to believe that these guys in the locker room, he's got their back, or they got his back, right? They want him to be the guy. That's what it seems like. Now, of course, if it's Minshew, then they'll take pictures with Minshew, right? So it's how it is with locker rooms and whoever the guy is there. But I don't see it that big of a deal. To me, the Cardinals have the cap room to do it. And if we're just talking about 2026, then we're not worried about 2027. People want to tie the 1-11 record solely on Brissett, and that's where I have the issue with, where I don't think it's just Brissett's fault why we won one game. Now, yes, there was a few games that you could have done a lot better, but we had no run game. It forced them to throw the ball 34, 39, 45 times a game a lot of the times, which was very unfortunate. A run game, James Conner going down, Trey Benson going down was band-aided together with bless their hearts and Michael Carter, Bam Knight, Mari DeMarcado. We ended up seeing him throw the ball. It just wasn't a good circumstance, and that whole right-hand side of the line was just putrid. Every second he got sacked back there, and he was getting brutalized, and he got back up. He took a beating back there. So to me, I don't see it's that big of a deal if it's $15 million. Even 2 months ago, I mentioned that figure as well, where if that's where he wants to be, I don't think the Cardinals should have an issue with it. But they can't get away from the 1-11 start. That's what they got in their mind. Oh, you're just going to bench him in 4 or 5 weeks, but he's still going to be working with hopefully trying to develop. I mean, he did that with May, right? Drake May, when he was at the New England. He's still going to, talk to him on the sidelines. If he makes a mistake, they're going to be looking at the tablet together. He's a veteran quarterback with the ability to try to mold, at least try to help in any way he can to try to bring in a young rookie together. And I know that's, to me, what we got to try to figure out in 2026. That's the most important thing. What do we have in Beck? And if it's not there, then obviously we move off in 2027's it. But I want Beck to work. I do. Because if the Cardinals do have another top 10 or a mid-round pick, I would rather allocate that to the darn defensive line, like an edge rusher, and not worrying about another quarterback. Because again, sometimes quarterbacks take a while to develop, and I feel like sometimes people are praying for a savior to come in here and save the day. But the Cardinals' history showed us that when you brought in a Warner and you brought in a Palmer, it can work depending on the coaching staff. Now, I'm not calling Jacoby that. Like I want to be clear, I'm not calling him that. But if you have an offense with the weaponry that we have, if Michael Wilson can replicate, if Marvin Harrison Jr. can show the consistent of being a 1K receiver, you got Trey McBride, you got Jeremiah Love, like we got the weapons to be a good offense. Like I said earlier, it's just the defense that really kind of worries me to see what happens there. But I'm on camp, keep him for the year. I mean, let's see what he can do.
Yeah, it's one of those spots where I think that it's an overblown drama because on one hand, you're like, do you want to pay the guy $15 million and then bench him after 11 weeks and then you're getting $1.2 million per start? I understand, but that is the going price for a quarterback, and I think that is a price that the Cardinals should be able to pay. In hindsight, would they have probably paid Gardner Minshew the amount of money that they did to be the backup? I think that if they had known what was going on, they probably would have just said, hey, we're going to boost you, Jacoby, if we had this plan, get you a little bit extra. We'll go and be able to bring in another backup who's probably, or just rolled with Keaton Slovis and then not had to worry about paying that to Gardner Minshew. Then all of a sudden you got your 3 quarterbacks ready to roll. Right. There was no guarantee that you were going to get a Carson back, and that's why I think at the end of the day they've ended up with this 3 quarterback situation where you're not really sure who the one guy is going to be that's the starter in week 18 at the end of the year. Your hope is that it's going to be Jacoby Brissett, starts the whole season, Cardinals win games and things go well. Your expectation is it's going to be Beck finishing and taking at least what we'll see. He, of course, was the addition the Cardinals made with the 3rd round pick. He was not, of course, the 1st or 2nd round pick, who are guys that are expected to probably be starting or impact players, if not right away, at least within the first 6 weeks. We would expect that as they adjust to the league. That, of course, would start with the number 3 overall pick, Jeremiah Love. A lot of controversy around that because of the position he played as a running back. There were some questions. I was in the camp, at least, of if you believe that you can get an edge rusher at the top of the draft, then you'd be able to do it. The Cardinals, of course, did not actually have the opportunity to draft an edge rusher, as David Bailey went immediately with the 2nd overall pick, and you saw Arvell Reese, who is probably going to be playing off-ball linebacker, was not an edge rusher, falls to the 5th overall pick. Cardinals end up with Jeremiah Love, who by many accounts people had as the best overall talent in this draft. Now, coming off of bringing back James Conner, signing Tyler Algier, a lot of people had wondered if this makes the Cardinals just crazy for going out or doing one of these sort of moves. I think looking back on it, if you're going to be talking about actually needing to get one of the better talents that's available and a way to boost your run game, and if you didn't really feel that high on Arvell Reese, then this pick made a whole lot of sense. What are some of your thoughts about the addition of Love?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Honestly, I really do like the pick here from Jeremiah Love. In the beginning, I was in the same camp with you as well, where like I was just so steadfast of like edge rusher, and David Bailey was the guy for me to potentially go. Like Arvell Reese, I was always a little worried about because of what we've already dealt with, and I guess just the deja vu of what we experienced as Cardinal fans with, Isaiah Simmons, right? And I know it's really messed up to compare the two, but like that's just kind of in our minds. It's ingrained. So like I don't mind the Jeremiah Love pick. I really do like. I mean, if we're talking about you're sitting at the 3rd overall pick and you want to get the most impactful player for a position group, you got it in Jeremiah Love. And a lot of people were saying he was the best prospect coming out of this year's draft class. So like it makes sense. Like it makes all the sense in the world. I know to like the outside perspective from like other people that are probably mad that they didn't get Jeremiah Love falling to like 5 or 6. You have a lot of people saying, oh, you got the Arizona Cardinals wasting a pick at the 3rd overall because they're paying them this amount of money, but then they're okay with the Titans getting him. They're okay with getting, the Giants getting him at 5, which is like the guaranteed salary is what, like $5 million, like maybe $6 million difference. It just made no sense to me. I just felt like everybody was mad that the Cardinals ended up going after him. But like we got a solid running back core right now. Like I'm actually really excited that we brought back James Conner, or at least the restructured deal. Like we're the restructured deal. And then Trey Benson, if he could stay healthy. I really like Trey Benson coming out of FSU. It's just now we got a 4 running back tandem that I'm curious to figure out how Mike LaFleur is going to like deploy. Like that's one thing I'm really curious about as well. Obviously, it's probably going to be Tyler Algier and Jeremiah Love taking the front load of it all. But we know last year, man, when you get down your 1 and 2, we were left with, like I said earlier, bless their hearts, but the Michael Carters and the Mercados of the world, they can't get it done. And unfortunately, you can't be a one-dimensional offense. And that's what we were, unfortunately, last year with Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, I think that one dimensionality has to change, especially if you're going to be bringing a rookie quarterback like Carson back into the fold. You have to make sure that you're supporting him. What are the expectations for Beck? We could talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. and everything that needs to happen. I think he knows what he needs to do as far as getting stronger at the catch point, being able to hopefully be put into different positions with this training staff where he's still able to get those ISO routes and be the X receiver, but you're able to see him move around a bit more and then run some of the routes that he's more comfortable with. I think that he's an easier guy to be able to project. Beck is the hard one because you're not sure where the arm is at. You've seen at least some progressive being able to put up some stats and get some wins in college. You've also seen some issues. The interception at the end of the college football playoff where he just completely throws into double coverage and sails it while under pressure. Obviously, no one was going to beat Indiana. But it is a spot at least where, as Cardinals fans, what do we need to see from Beck to be able to make sure that he is going to be the starter for the 2027 season? I think personally, it's kind of like when Kyler Murray came back in 2023 after that terrible start to the year. Cardinals went 3-5, and they won out of getting a Drake May, getting a Jaden Daniels. That was where you just needed to win enough games to essentially roll in an extra saying, we can't get one of those guys, so we got to go with Kyler. I think that's the same case when it comes to Carson Beck, is you got to go and win games at the end of that schedule to be able to prove that you should be the guy and maybe are the only guy heading into 2027.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. That's a great point. I mean, you're right. At 3-5 after Kyler came back, did take us out of contention for any of those top three quarterbacks. It's not crazy to think of that, but that is the NFL. Like that's as you either get him or you don't. And sometimes it's like that. Oh, you got him, right? Like that dollar at the end of the fishing pole. Like it's crazy how like anything can change like that. But expectations for me for Carson Beck, I just want to see him run an offense and be efficient, and I want to see him be able to throw the ball, elevate people across them. And I know I don't expect playoffs for the Cardinals. I mean, I wish I could, but like we're already 4 or 5 seasons in, and like the expectation's not that. I just want to see him develop into becoming potentially that guy. And it's a really good point in terms of like the later part of the season where it does open up, where you can actually breathe a little bit and say, okay, these are teams that you can win, especially if you play perfect football, complementary football from the defense and special teams to your offense. You can win some games at the end or part of the season. And that's one of the things that's important. I don't want to throw Carson back in the first part of the season. Like I just let the veterans go to the bumps and bruises and the wheels fall off. Then you throw him in there and let's see what he has. But like, let's see him run the offense. Like we got a quote unquote offensive guru. And I know that word gets thrown out loosely, but like we got a guy that's lived and breathed under one of the best coaches in the modern era, and Sean McVay. Like he can run an offense with a very specific and detailed mentality where everything matters, right down to the tight ends and their chip blocks and the wide receivers and all the things that it takes to actually run an offense in the NFL. I think that the detail-oriented offense that Mike LaFleur can run, I think it's going to be very, very good and beneficial for said Carson Beck. So I just want to see him, obviously throw a lot of touchdowns. So I don't have a number specifically. I just want to see him not look lost. And there was a times when we did see Josh Rosen sometimes, especially after the Cardinal days. Like I used to jump into a couple of his games with the Falcons and stuff like that. He looked lost. He looked like he just didn't belong. Like I need a guy that looked like he's there and he belongs and he could take a hit, come right back up and sling the ball right down the field. And I want to see a guy stand in the pocket too. Like enough with the scrambles around and extending plays when you don't know what the heck your wide receiver is going to be. Keep everything on time, and I kind of want to. I know it's kind of everywhere for Carson Beck, but like I just want to see him run this offense efficiently.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are looking at, and that's why the Cardinals took a guy and took him as high as they did, who had as many starts, who had experience, and who had the body and the frame. Like, wasn't that the team was going to be going and drafting a smaller quarterback, and it wasn't that they were going to take roll the dice on Drew Aller, who had all of the physical tools, but really had never actually produced at the collegiate level. Speaking of collegiate level, let's wrap it up by just taking a look ahead at the 2027 draft class. So there's obviously huge names that are out there, and Dante Moore, CJ Carr, Arch Manning is the biggest name that a lot of people are like calling it the March for Arch already, kind of like the suck for luck with everything.
Yep.
I'm an Arch guy because I watched him early last year. It was like, oh wow, he does not look like he's ready to live up for this billing. Then you watch him late last year and you're like, this guy would be like the number 2 overall pick behind Mendoza if he had declared that year. He obviously did not. I'm more lean toward the camp of the Cardinals do not have to necessarily get the top pick, as we have talked about in previous draft classes. Sometimes you have a draft class like Trevor Lawrence went number 1. The Jets did not get get the number 1 pick and they're still in quarterback purgatory.
Yeah.
Other times you end up in a spot where the team who's the 3rd quarterback taken ends up making it to the Super Bowl ahead of the Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels types.
Yeah.
It's something where it really is a situation that you need to have, and I think the Cardinals are setting up to have a phenomenal situation for a young rookie quarterback to step into. But what are some of your thoughts on the 2027 draft class that Cardinals fans can look ahead to if this season is going to be the disaster that we hope it isn't? But if it is, where's kind of that light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, projectedly, right? I mean, it does seem to have
They're
a
not
lot of
favored in any game so far this season outside of the Jets game, so it doesn't feel like you're in for a great season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, projected the quarterback class is supposed to be better, right? Like that's what everybody says, and that's what we're hearing. I mean, yeah, the Archie Mannings, and you're right. The beginning part of that, college or for that year, it was not good. And that's probably what I watched a lot more than I watched towards the end. But he has gotten better. I do want to see the development to this year as well. But Dante Moore as well is another one that I'm very curious to figure out how he's going to work, because even in playoffs, I don't think he looked that great. But Dante Moore still has a lot of the tools. He's got more of a, I don't know, I'm not going to call it like Kyler Murray-esque athleticism, but the ability to scramble is definitely there. He's got a pretty solid arm as well. I'm actually glad he chose to go back to Oregon as opposed to getting drafted by the Jets. But like continued development, but you also do got like Chambliss potentially coming out as well. I know he's smaller. I think he's like 6 foot if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. But him, Mensa is another one out there. People kind of threw out there as well, which I need to follow up a little bit more on what he can do. But like, there's supposed to be a lot of quarterbacks coming out of this year's draft class. So of course, come November, if we're in a bad state, that's probably where my mind's also too. Coming, on Saturday I'll be watching a lot of college football, and then on Sundays we'll be doing the Cardinal stuff as well. So projectedly, again, quarterbacks are supposed to be galore this next draft class.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where it seems like the grass is always greener. At the same time, we always know that the grass is never really greener on the other side. So it's one of those areas where you can't talk about the 2027 class without getting to 2026. That's what training camp is for with your Arizona Cardinals. Hey, Mike, thanks so much again for joining at least here today on the podcast. If you want to shout out, I know you're on the march to 20,000 followers on your YouTube channel. I know that's a huge thing for you, so I'm hoping that you'll be able to get there. But shout out any other content that you have and where our viewers and listeners to the podcast can find you and your content.
Yeah, you can follow me at the AZ Sports Fan pretty much everywhere. I'm not as active on TikTok. I'm trying to get there, but that one's the least amount. But I do have on there. I got Instagram. I got a X/Twitter on there as well. But mainly the main follow is on YouTube at the AZ Sports Fan. You can follow me on there. I'm going to be covering the Cardinals from the beginning of the season all the way to the end, all the way to the until I get tired of it. This is my full-time job, so love doing it. So yeah, follow me, and you'll see a very depressed Cardinal fan. Hopefully not at the end of the year.
I know that's one of the things. All Cardinals fans are depressed. It just depends on what level of depression we are at currently at the time. So that's been a great show, at least with you, Mike. Thank you guys again so much for listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, write a review. You can find me on Twitter at BlakeMurphy7. Make sure you're also following our podcast, Bleav in Arizona Cardinals, at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. This has been the Bleav in Arizona Cardinals podcast. For Mike, I'm Blake. That's all. We'll see you guys from the other side. I'll be heading out to training camp this weekend to be able to get you some actual live takes. It's going to be super fun. We'll talk about it next week. Have a good one.